Oh, today we move on to talk about selecting a method for data collection. Did you have the program installed in your smartphone? Or later, and now you can use the code here. We have a code. Please type the code 8252492. Okay, it should be on your screen, right? So use 8252492, and then you will be constantly asked to provide your feedback. So I found this program is quite useful to increase our interactions in the classroom. So I provide you a way to express yourself. So I hope that can be a success. Okay. So this is our goals for today. In the meantime, you can just type in your school ID and send submit. In the meantime, let's talk about the lesson goals for this week. We will learn the difference between secondary data and primary data. We have two sets of data, secondary and primary. It's very important for us to know because we need to collect data, right? And data is necessary for us to answer our research problem. So we need to have data. And also once we identify different types of data, then we will learn the methods of collecting both kinds of data. There are many different ways. And we will learn the problems with using secondary data. There are some issues out there. Okay, so let's continue to the next one. Have you all typed in your school ID? We have 35 students here, but we have more students than this. Please hurry up. You need to have the program. Anyone? Yes. You need to type in. Hurry up. We have 41 students, but we have only 37 answers. That's strange. What's wrong? You need the code? Okay, that'd be great. Okay, please use the code to type in your ID. Oh, okay, and yeah, I need to open for survey, so that you can do again. Okay, can you type in? Okay, great. Okay, good, very good. Okay, now we have two students. Yeah, it's about right, 39 students so far. Okay, so this is what we are going to do for today, and let's take a look for data. Two kinds of data for us that we can collect. One is called as primary data. Primary data is something that we need to collect by ourselves. So information must be collected are coded as primary data. But how about the secondary data? Primary data is coded 主要资料、原始资料。How about secondary data is coded 次级资料 the secondary 资料. Okay, so secondary information required is already available and need only to be extracted. So look at this is a keyword. Is already available somewhere out there in some archive, in government, in the book, in some other people's research papers, already there. Anything that is already put on the paper or stored in the digital files are all secondary data. You don't have to collect. You need to retrieve. You need to extract those data from the data bank. That's it. So what is the difference between collection and extraction? Collection is about you need to go into the field to do the collection by yourself. So there is no data over there. You have to collect by yourself. But how about extract? Extract means that things are there. The only thing you need to is to take it back. Very simple. So they are different. And there's another way to see the difference between primary data and the secondary data. That is, everything is already existed in this world. Every data already existed on paper in this world is secondary data. So you can imagine this is secondary data because it's over there, right? The sitting chart. Anything you can think of, newspaper article or journal article or a dissertation written by Daniel or graduation paper written by Su Miaoyi and so on, right? They are all secondary data for you. If you want to use them for analysis, then they are secondary data. Okay, and collecting secondary data requires the previous knowledge. That is, they can save you a lot of money. Yes, indeed, they are cost saving. You don't have to spend money to interview, right? You just go to the library to retrieve all the data, or go to Google, get into the official website, government website, and go there and collect your data. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. That is what you can do. Okay, and let's see this one. Okay, and please type your name, please. Okay, so here we have different types of data collection, and we have said that we have two kinds of data, right? One is secondary data, the other one is primary data. They come from the primary sources, and the meaning for secondary data, there is a general term. We call them as documents. They are all kinds of documents. Government publication, earlier research papers, and periodicals or records and checklists and anything that is already there. They are secondary data. They are in forms of documents, maybe digital documents or paper documents, right? So everything existed there is secondary data. But how about primary data? Primary data, you can collect primary data basically three different ways. General ways. You can observe through observation, or you can do interview. You can go there to interview people, or you can use survey that you can dispatch your questionnaires to your respondents so that you can collect a lot of data, right? So we have three different ways for data collection, for collecting primary data: observation, interview, or questionnaire. And of course, there are different kinds of observation. Sometimes we can use participants. Sometimes we would use non-participant. What is the definition for participant and a non-participant? What are the differences? Well, there's a very simple distinction between these two. If you as the observer, the researcher, mingling into the group that you want to observe, if you tell them, if you let them know you are the observer, then you are the participant observation. If you did not inform them, or you keep yourself away from the observed group, for example, look at that camera over there, the video cam over there, right? We observed. I'm just kidding. No one is observing us. And that is for teaching purpose. So there is no connection to other places. So if this supposedly, I just say, if the school tries to understand how well you have learned this class, and they can use this to observe you, right? In this case, this is the so-called non-participant observation. You do not get involved into the group for you to conduct observation. So you are not in this group. Is that right? Okay. But there is an ethical consideration. Do you like to be observed without notice, prior notice to you? Of course not. I have my human rights, right? Why should I be observed by you? So it will be illegal. Even the president used that camera to observe our lecture. Is that right? Illegal. I can sue her. So when you do your observation, you have to be careful. That's why in social studies, when you are dealing with human beings, dealing with the respondents, dealing with the interviewees of the people you want to observe, you have to be careful for the ethical consideration. One question you need to ask yourself, will you harm them physically or mentally? It's very important. Never harm your subject. And also to help you to facilitate your research, you need to ask them, you have to ask them to sign the consent form to agree to take the study. It's very important. Consent form is a protection method for you. So be careful of this. Okay, and how about interview? Interview, normally there are two general approach. One is the so-called structure. The other one is unstructured. Structured, unstructured. Well, it's just a very general division typology between these two. It all depends on what you are trying to do. But basically, when we talk about interview, you go there and pop up your questions and they answer your questions, right? Some of the questions are very broad. For example, have you ever encountered any difficulties at school? Yes. Could you describe what kind of difficulties you have encountered? Blah, 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 a lot, right? Okay. And then you may want to follow up. When you encounter these difficulties, were there any people coming out to help you, or you just solve those problems by yourself? Oh, yeah, my teacher came to my help. Okay, what did he do? You can imagine this. There's a series, some of this, and some of the questions may be very fixed. Very fixed. For example, if I try to understand how the perceptions of the international relation experts here in Taiwan on the relation between China and the United States, maybe one of my questions is this: how do you think about Trump's victories toward the if he won the presidential election? That would be today, right? It's kind of scary. Everyone is waiting, crossing their fingers. But anyway, it's not too much to our business. We are still students and faculty members. But anyway, maybe I will ask, after 2 months of election and Trump really wins this election, I will ask, how do you think about the Trump's new presidencies and its effect on the relationship between Taiwan and China? Wow, that's a lot to say, right? So I will ask the same question to each of the individual experts I invited for interview, maybe. So interview, there are many different kind of interview. And you can use questionnaire. Questionnaire, there are many ways for you to dispatch. You can mail out the questionnaire, you can do this online, you can dispatch the questionnaire in class, and how snowballing. So there are many techniques you would like to consider. So all things are different, okay? So let's move on to each of them specifically. Here. Other than the issue listed here, later I will ask you to type your answer, but not now, don't worry. Let's think about the choice of data collection. We have two different kinds of data, primary data and secondary data, right? Primary data, you can use your observation, interview, or questionnaires to collect. And secondary data, you can just go to the archive to retrieve all the needed information for yourself, right? So it doesn't matter what kind of data you want to use, so long the data is capable for you to answer your research questions, research problem, then they are good data, right? So the choice of data, there are some issues out there, choice of data. It all depends on the purpose of your study. What is your study? For example, do we still remember the first question for our quiz? Taiwanese perspectives toward Japanese diet, right? If this is the one research topic, then what would be the possible data collection for you? We are talking about the study population is Taiwanese, right? So there are so many Taiwanese. So it would be very possible for you to collect data through questionnaire, because questionnaire can be applied to a larger respondents at one time. Can you do interview? No, because the small sample of interviewees cannot represent the Taiwanese. So if you look at the research topic, you know, okay, the purpose of the study is to identify Taiwanese perspective on something. Since Taiwanese are so huge, okay, in this case, questionnaires may be good. Is that right? Okay. All the resources available, it's also very important. Sometimes, let's look at here. You have one topic, Taiwanese perspectives on Japanese diet. But you think the resources. Here, would that be easy for you to conduct a survey to all Taiwanese here in Taiwan? Not really, right? Because you do not have the resource to access all the Taiwanese, the population of the Taiwanese at large over there. It's very difficult for you to do so. Very difficult. So what would be the most the possible way for you to collect, to identify? You need to narrow down the study population. So in this case, you may want to narrow down to, you still want to understand people's perspectives on Japanese diet. But now, you narrow down to your focus, you know there are some people you can reach. As a student, you have a Wenzhou students, right? Or maybe you live in Taipei and a small community, maybe you can collect people's idea in the small community. So you have to think about the availability of your resources. So try to narrow down your focus. And also skills of the teacher, of the researcher, how good you are, what kind of skills you have. Do you have the ability to conduct statistical analysis? You need to have. So you have to check on your research topic, the one you want to do. If that is something related to number, you want to do the number game, then you have to take the course for statistical analysis in the next semester. Or otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to analyze, to collect data, okay? Let alone design the questionnaire. And when you collect data, you have to consider social, economic, demographic characteristics of the study population. What are the targets you want to collect your data? If you want to collect data from kindergarteners, then you have to design your research instrument according to their vocabulary levels, right? Okay? If you want to collect data from, let's say, a group of old folks sitting under the trees in front of the temple, they do not speak Chinese, Mandarin at all, only speaking Taiwanese or Hakka. So what kind of ability you need to have? You need to speak Hakka or Taiwanese. Or otherwise, there is no way for you to collect your data, right? So you have to look at who are the people you want to collect data. Sometimes it's not about people. Sometimes it's about the sources. If you, for example, if you want to collect data from the US State Department, then you have to know what kind of limitation that they will allow you to retrieve data from their data bank. There must be some kind of limitation out there. You have to know that. Okay? And also, you have to consider the way the purpose and the relevance of the study is explained to potential respondents. You want to collect data lively from people. You have to let your respondents know the purpose of your study. That is, you cannot hide. You cannot cheat. For example, you collect data from this, oh, there's nothing, I'm just doing this for fun. Well, it's lie, totally lie, right? This is unethical. You have to tell them. For example, you are conducting an interview survey for how to improve the wind industry policy here in Taiwan. So you interview a group of experts out there. You have to explain, you have to inform them in advance. The purpose of the study is to gather your comments and your expectation about how the government can improve the policy for wind industry. So you have to let them know. And how are you going to use the data you have collected? So the data collected will be kept confidentially. Your names, your organization, your affiliation will not be revealed in anyhow, anywhere here in my report. I will only provide a general discussion on each of your individual respondents. Okay, confidentiality. So you have to explain a lot. So these are all the things you need to consider. So now, look at this. When you collect your data, so now I want you to provide some input about, other than the issues listed here, what will be your other consideration for choosing your ways of data collection? Everyone has different consideration. So let's try to do this. You just type in your own answers, your thoughts. Basically, it's a brainstorming. There's nothing right or wrong. Just entertain yourself, playing the game. That's it. Okay? Should be fun. Can refresh by continue to allow you to vote. We have more inputs so far. Yes, good, great, perfect, marvelous. Give you another time of voting, another 1 minute, so take your time. Okay, I think that is good enough. Let's take a look for this. So, of course, there are many different considerations for us to do, but when it applies to each individual, we have different considerations. And one or several, you can see there are some of the words, phrases pop up more frequently than the others. That is population. What is the study population you are really talking about, right? And also maybe we will consider the location, the highlight of location. And where is the location is very important. Let's think about this one. Where do you live? What are you? You are students, right? And you are now in Taiwan. And during the COVID-19 epidemic era, it will be very difficult for you to travel. So let's think about if you live in Malaysia. If you came from Malaysia and you think that during the summertime it may be a good time for me to go back to my country and to collect data, then you have to think about, is that feasible for you to use this location for your data collection? May not be the good idea, right? Because summertime is, it will be very quick, next summer. I don't think that COVID-19 will just disappear at that time. Some experts say that it will be until the same situation until 2022, maybe, right? So there are 2 years to go. So you need to wear your mask all the time until that time. Yeah, you are not allowed to travel freely. Just like yesterday, my daughter talked to me and she said that, oh, Dad, I plan to come back to Taiwan in December. I said, what? Are you serious? Yeah, I can apply for 3 weeks of leave, and I could stay in my apartment in the house for 2 weeks, and then I can still use my 1 week of time to enjoy my life in Taiwan. I said, oh, okay, that is quite a plan, but do you think you really want to come back? You know, when you come back to Taiwan, we cannot visit you, right? We cannot visit you. You have to live there, isolated from the population, and all the meals can be just let into the door and say, eat. That's it. Do you really want to have this life? And she said, oh, maybe not. So maybe not. That is not a good idea. So you have to consider a lot. So basically, I would say, how are you going to use your data? Use your data collection. Try to identify whatever you have. It doesn't matter whether it is about location, the way for you to observe, or what country you are from, and the time. There's another consideration here about the time. Time is indeed. How much time you have for data collection? At most 3 months. Is that right? During the summertime. So be careful. You do not have unlimited resources for this. Okay, let's take a 10 minutes break, and please come back at 11:09 and get seated and prepare to welcome our guests. Okay? There are some other. We have different types and different problems or recording methods for us to consider observations. We know that there are two major kinds. One is participants. The other one is non-participant observations, right? When you are here as an observer, you are inside the setting for observation. Then you are conducting a participant observation. If you are not, you are conducting non-participant observations. But observation always comes with problems. What are the possible problems we can think of? For one, think of this: Hawthorne effect. Hawthorne effect related to a very simple theory. That is, when people know that they are observed, their reactions will be twisted. Their reactions will be twisted, will be biased, will be very strange. It comes out from the experiment. Just right after World War II, and America was trying to boost its economy, right? So they there were a lot of research on how to promote the production rates of the workers. So a group of scientists went to Hawthorne. There was a factory out there, and they conducted a controlled experiment. They observed how well the worker produced their product, manufactured their product under the lights. So they have an assumption. Their hypothesis is just like this. The full light in the factory, then the workers should have 100% of production efficiency. If they dim the light to 80%, 70%, 60%, and 50%, or even lower, then the efficiency of production for those workers should be decreased according to the light, the deduction of the light, right? Okay, so they turn the light a little bit dimmer, and dimmer. And surprisingly, by the end of the experience, they found out that those workers just as good as the full light environment. There's no effect at all. They feel very strange, puzzled. Why? Because they're based on their observation. It doesn't matter how much the light is turned off. So long as the product is visible, their manufacturing efficiency is still about the same. What happened to this? And then after the experiment, the researchers and the managers sat together to discuss the interesting finding. And unintentionally, one of the managers informed the researcher that before they came, the manager had informed the workers that they will be observed today. So for the honor and the glory of our factory, do your best. So you can imagine this. So this is the so-called Hawthorne effect. When people know that they are observed, they will become very strange. Their reactions will become very artificial. Just like later, if there's a group of professors here, and sitting over there, our reaction will be somewhat different, right? And that is Hawthorne effect. Hawthorne effect, okay? And sometimes we have observation bias. Observation bias, that is, although we know we have to do it with purpose, we have to do it with a systematic way of data collection. And we have to do all the things we can consider, but sometimes we still can only observe something. We know we need to selectively observe something, right? But this observation, sometimes we just skip it, or we just feel tired. Selection bias, observation bias, or subjective interpretation. What does that mean? We observe something happen, and I think, well, that's nothing, so I don't give it some kind of specific meaning. And also incomplete observation. Remember, I just said that I need to go through the process systematically, right? But gradually, the observer got tired. Just skip it 1 or 2 times. And that would be a kind of incomplete observation. So all of these problems can happen. Okay? And now let's talk about the recoding methods. How to recode. Every time you have to recode what you observe, right? You can use narrative. You can just write it down the story. And also maybe you can use scales. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and to see how the students react to me, or from 1 to 5, very intensively or very lazily, and I can take a check, right? So this is one way. But use scales, there will be some problem. What is the problem? First, the so-called error of central tendency. Most of the time, if we have a 5 choice for you to make a pick, right? So are you happy? Ask you, are you happy for this? Are you happy now, right? Okay. Not very happy. Somewhat unhappy, right? Nothing, just about usual. Okay, somewhat happy, very happy, right? most of the people will choose something in between, like this or this, right? Only rarely people will choose this one or this one. This is the so-called error of central tendency. Because we don't think that choosing extreme answers will become appropriate for this one. And you like to be conformed to other groups' idea, right? So most of the time you will choose something in between. This is the so-called error of central tendency. Or the so-called elevation effect. For example, if I use the scale to observe your attendance, your focus, your attention in the classroom, right? So I look at Genyis, okay, I give you 4. And I look at Devon's, he is also attentive, so I give it 4. And I look at other students, okay, and one by one, sometimes I just increase the points a little bit. But eventually I find out all the students get 5 are not really 5, but I cannot get it done. So this is elevation effects. And also there is a so-called halo effect. What is halo effect? Halo is like some kind of a ring about your head, right? Just an angel. Halo effect. This is so-called halo effect. What does that mean? Okay? A person's performance sometimes is judged by his name. For example, if I look at Fang Qi, the test is from Fang Qi. Oh, the good student. Okay. So when I try to give her 60, Fang Qi, no, she be good student. Maybe this is something like 80. Halo effect. It's real. So that's why when I grade your paper, I never take a look at your name. Did you notice that every time I give you the quiz, the name and the school ID were always at the bottom, right? Why is that? There's a purpose to avoid the halo effect. Because once I identify your name, I will be influenced by the name effect. There is a halo on your head, right? So every time I correct your answers, it's very simple. Hey, yeah, okay, please come in. So every time I correct your paper, that is very simple. That is, I will do this one by one. From essay question 1, and I go through 41 students at one time. 41 and the number 2 question, essay question number 2, without looking at your names. Why do I do that? It's very simple. I try to avoid halo effect. Halo effect, okay? And categorical reading, recoding is something you can do. You can just divide it into groups. For example, we have female students and male students. We just divide them into 2 groups. That's very easy. And we can use mechanical devices like a videotape, camcorder, anything that you would like to do that would be useful, right? So this is the type of problems and recoding issues that we have to understand about observation. And the other one, consider interview. Interview is another way for you to collect primary data. It's a very commonly used way. Of course, when we say that there are 2 general categories of interview, structured or unstructured, over here. Structured and unstructured. When we say this, we have to take a look at what do we mean by structured. How can you have a structured research instrument for you to collect data? Basically, you need to understand, you have 2 very strong evidences supported by literature. You need to have a group of literature review, a very solid literature review for you to create your own interview protocol and interview schedules, which you will learn how to do the interviews protocols and interview schedule in next semester. Next semester will offer you a case study and qualitative research. And you can take that course if you are conducting qualitative research. And also there's another kind of unstructured. What kind of unstructured interview we can think of? For example, narrative analysis is one. Narrative analysis is about how to explore a life story of a group of specific persons. For examples, if it happens to you, you have the chances to have encountered a group of widows. 10, let's say, there are 10 widows out there, right? They have their life story. Don't you think that it would be fascinating for you to investigate their life story? So that you can come out with some of the summary, general patterns of how those widows lived before their husband dies, and how they pass by, adapt themselves through the time of the mourning sessions, and after that, how they can improve, how they can mingle themselves into the whole society. So before, right in between, and after the husband dies. That could be a fascinating life story, right? So how can you do this kind of story? There is one approach we can do on structured interview. We call narrative analysis. That could be good. So if you are doing something about life story, you can do this, okay? And also, so you can look here, we have different types. In-depth interview, focus group interview, narrative, this is narrative story, and oral history. Let's pay attention to oral history here. Oral history, normally, if you want to understand a dignitary, a very important person's life story, it will be possible for you just go to interview this one, right? For example, let's say Tsai Ing-wen, maybe after she retired from the presidency, 20 years later, and you become a renowned scholar, you have the privilege to interview her. Then she would give you a lot of her own story, right? To describe how she grew up, how she developed into her as such, and how she developed her career, and so on. There's a long process of developing up there. So basically, she is trying to remember what she has passed through her life. It's good to know a person's history, but through the spoken language to you. What's wrong with our memory? Do you think there would be something wrong with your memory? Yes. Always, people like to paint his own history to make beautiful, reasonable. So memory is full of a lot of twists. So oral history is interesting to identify a person's development throughout the time. But the problem is that people always like to twist. For example, myself. And now I still insist upon one thing. When I was 3 years old, I had a dog, a yellow dog called Archie. I still remember that, but my mother firmly denied I had a dog when I was 3. I said, no, I did have a dog. See, whose memory is correct? Very difficult, right? Very difficult. So when you say something that you did, something did happen in the past, that it may not in this case. May not be. So how can you verify the statement of the person telling you? How? Well, if the person is so famous, then you have to do some literature review before your interview. That is, you have to read all the possible biography about this person, all the story about this person, maybe all the autobiographies about this person he wrote by himself, for himself, right? You have to prepare all the literature so that you can double check whether his statement at the time for interview is correct or not. So you can imagine that. When we do interview, there are a lot of things for you to encounter. That would be fascinating. People will tell you truth. Sometimes they will tell you lie, intentionally. So how can you tell the differences? Well, you need to have a lot of skills. Is that right? Okay. Let's move to the other one. And a questionnaire is another kind of way for you to collect primary data. It's a written list of questions, of course. And then the question must be clear and easy to understand. You need to present your question to your audience respondents clearly, right? So because why you need to do this? Because they do not have the chance to ask you to clarify the meaning of your question. So it is very important. And also, it's very important to keep in mind, the layout should be easy to read and pleasant to the eye. The layout must be there and easy to the eyes. So imagine this, how many pages you can have for your questionnaire? Normally, let us know, let me ask you one very simple question. Ask you one very simple question that is, let's say this one. Okay, let's say this one. If we have this very simple question, then I would like to ask how many minutes you would spend on answering a questionnaire. Let's see. The APP, have you done those, the APP? And this is the code you need to have. Mentimeter. We are on the 9, you let me check on the 9 message. Okay, and it's hide. Hide first. Come on, how many minutes? Just give you a number, that will be fine. Good enough. Okay, let's say there's most of the answers have been here. So let's see your answer for this one. Well, we have a bunch of answers here. 2 to 3, 5, 5, 5 to 10. Wow, this is very patient. 5 to 10. That's a very, very good. Very nice to know this. Oh, 15 minutes. Amazing. You really want? Wow, this is 25. You really want to answer a questionnaire for 25 minutes? No, I don't think so. 25 minutes, that's okay, that's great. So, wow, this is most one. Let's see, that's 30 minutes. That's a lot of time you like to spend on answering questions. Basically, in reality, you will observe that the patience for one to answer a questionnaire is about no more than 3 minutes to 5. 3 to 5. Right? 3 to 5, that's it. So don't think that your respondents will be so helpful to answer your books or questionnaire. No, don't design your questionnaire in this way. So basically, 2 pages, this is A3 paper, right? Then you could have 4 pages and fold it together just like this. And turn 4 pages. Most of the time, yes, indeed. Don't think that you can create a questionnaire with 8 pages, 16 pages, a book. Let's read it, have 30 minutes to answer. No, never happen in this way. Give you a very simple idea. When my wife earned her doctoral degree in 2005, we came back to Taiwan. And later that year, a PhD doctoral association in the United States sent a mailed questionnaire to my wife. It's very thick. It's really very thick. A pamphlet about 20-some pages, full of a lot of questions out there. And my wife took a look and said, "Oh, could you help me to fill out?" She asked me to fill out. I said, as a husband duty, I said, okay, yes. I put up there somewhere. And eventually I forgot this matter altogether. 2 months later, that association was so diligent, sending my wife another copy. And my wife took a look, oh, didn't you fill it out? I said, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Oh, could you do that for me? I said, yes, I would. I put up there, somewhere. First few days it was on my desk. And gradually it just disappeared somewhere out there. And half year, 6 months later, the same organizer sent the same copy to me. Not me, my wife. When I look at that, a little bit angry. Didn't you say that you want to answer? I said, oh yeah, I did. I did. And could you do that this time? I said, okay, I will do that this time. So I put up there, and there. Actually, I was kind of hesitant of answering because I don't want to waste the time to answer the book. And also, the questions are so specific. To answer my wife's locations and positions and the specializations and the career and in what kind of school, very detailed. When I look at those questions, I did spend a little bit of time reading the questions. But after reading it, I decided to quit it. 2 reasons. One, it's none of my business, right? None of my business. And second, it's so long with so boring questions. So I timidly put it away into a small corner of my desk. And after that, and after I was kind of nervous because I was afraid that they sent the same copy to my wife again. But fortunately for me, never sent it again. 3 times I tried out. Imagine this. We are all doctors. We have a higher degree than most of the people, right? And we still refuse to answer this kind of dumb questionnaires. How much money they spend on this? I believe that should be a lot. But still, they did not get any answers from me. I could imagine if a professor without husband to help, she would very likely to give this to one of her students. Could you do that for me? Thank you very much. Is that right? And the answer does not come out from the professor herself. Instead, it comes out from the part-time student, or a poor student, a miserable student, or student slave. Just do the job. So never design a questionnaire more than 4 pages. Imagine this. So imagine this. No one will do that. Most likely it will be only 32 minutes. This is the correct answer for most of the people. Really. So it's very important for you to keep in mind. Since you do not have so many times to answer, right? Much time to answer. So the layout should be clear. It should be kept in an interactive style. And of course, you can mail out all the questionnaire. Now, let me ask you. What is the most likely return rate for you to mail out the questionnaires? My example of this is when it should be very low, right? How low it is, you can imagine. If you mailed out the questionnaire, what do you think? Give me a percentage. Yeah, Gen Yi, you. 10%. How about you, Devon? 20%? You have very high hope about human nature. Thank you very much. I'm not a good person at all. I refused 3 times. And anyone else want to have some comment? Anyone? How about you, Yuan? What is the percentage you can think of?
I was thinking 40 or 50.
Huh?
I was thinking of 40 or 50.
40 or 50. Well, we are living in utopia. Even that is not good enough because in a utopia we should have 100% of return rate. But in our cool, cold world where we live here, the return rate is always under 3%. If you got 3, you should be smiling, really. 3%. So you can imagine this. That's why the same doctoral association, PhD association, will send 3 times or try out to increase the return rate. And still they failed. to entice me to answer their questions. So don't put high hope in mailing out the questionnaires. Fortunately, today we do not mail the questionnaires. We do this online, right? But online survey has its limitation. For example, one time I received the students' survey to me, and there's about which grade you are, which department you are in. And I received the email, the survey, I said, okay, I'm in a Department of International Business. And which year? Okay, I'm a sophomore. And what is your gender? I say I'm a boy, and now I'm a male, okay? So imagine this. All the information are disguised, twisted, misinformed, right? So this is something you cannot check. You still have the data, but you cannot check the reliability of your survey. Indeed, you will receive a lot of questions like this. Okay, now let's move down. So the choice between interview and a questionnaire. Most of the time you will collect data to interview a questionnaire. It's about the nature of your investigation. Whether they are small group sample, small sample, or large sample. Small sample, you go to interview. Large, you go to survey. And all the geographical distribution of the study population. If you want to have the data from a group of experts who live not only in Kaohsiung City, who lived everywhere, in Beijing, in Shanghai, in Tokyo, in Washington, D.C., then it is very unlikely for you to do a personal interview, right? Maybe you can use Line or WeChat interview through the online, maybe. So there are a lot of considerations. They live differently, right? So everything is a matter of choice. Now basically, you have to look at your own research purpose. That is the most important issue. Okay, now it's time for you to do something. Still remember that when we talk about research topic, right? What are the major components we need to put? The major component we need to put need to include study issue, study population. Is that right? And also possibly research methods. So I want you to think about it clearly and put up here. Give you some minutes to finish your answer. Then so you should be able to see an examples on your cell phone, right? So try to make your research topic something like that, with a study issue, study population, and possibly research methods, possibly. But not necessary, but study issues and study population should be there at least. Okay, you can refresh. So we can key in again. Yeah, the last 1 minute for you to provide your research topic. So later on we can talk about yours and I will give you some feedback and point out the issues you may think of, so maybe we can improve a little bit. Okay, 10 seconds. Please do submit by time. Okay, so we have all the students here. So now let's take a look for this one. We have a bunch of questions, research topic here. Let's go then, try to go through them and give you some feedback. Minority culture lost in China. The study issue for this one is, of course, is the loss of minority culture, right? In China, this is the study issue. And it will be needed for you to identify. Maybe you want to identify a very small group of minority tribe up there. So here you need to have a study population. Because in China it's so huge, right? So this kind of, it seems to be a ethnographic research, ethnography, 民族志学. So you want to study ethnography by yourself, trying to understand how to collect data with ethnography. Okay? Why does the pearl become so famous in Japan? It seems that you are going to ask only one question. Why do you think that pearl is so famous there? But if you are talking about the development or the pearl industry in Japan, or how people in Japan look at the pearl, the use of the pearl, the production of the pearl, or the pearl industry as large as a general concept, that be maybe useful. Okay, so here is kind of too narrow. Just like why cell phone becomes so popular here in Taiwan. It's kind of very lame to ask. Okay, and the lifestyle of those delivery men, as Ziming just asked me, it's about the lifestyle, the life story, or the operational model of those delivery boys. When they deliver food, they conduct a business for food delivery, right? They must have lifestyles over there. You can do that, yes, of course. The effect of the former German Democratic Republic on the voting behavior. Okay, we are talking about, this is A, right? This is A, and this is B, voting behavior. I'm curious about how the German Democratic Republic can have effect on the voting behavior. Who is doing this? You? Can you tell me why the party has the effect on the voting behavior?
It's not a party, it was a former ruling system in East Germany.
You mean Germany?
Yeah, East Germany.
I know, but you are talking about former German Democratic Republic.
Yeah.
It's not a party.
No, it's East Germany.
East Germany.
Yeah.
I see, I'm sorry, my bad.
No problem.
Effect of East Germany on voting behavior, still the same. I still have the same puzzle. Why East Germany has the effect on voting behavior?
It would be a comparison between East and West, and is the effect of a system which is not following democratic values.
If you are talking about system, then you have to talk about, for example, the culturation of the East Germany political system on people's voting behavior. Well, we have some action there, right? But now we are talking about East Germany. It's a state at that time. But if you are talking the political system or the socialization process throughout that process, you have to point out the name very clearly, so that you do have something that can produce effect on something. Okay, so keep in mind about that. And let's look at aging society. Aging society, the impact of whole world. This is very huge, because you are talking about, let's just think about when you have a research topic, you need to ask one question. Can you have the answers by reading books? If you can review literature and you know the ideas of the aging society, then you do not have the study, right? But you can do something. If you are really interested in identifying the effect of the influences, or what about the status of the aging society, right? Then you can focus on a small community. For example, if you can find a village just nearby your hometown, and inside the village, the residents of those in that village, the average age for those residents is about 82. That's very old, right? So how do they live? What is the lifestyle they have? How they manage their income and their output? There are many issues for consideration, right? So maybe you want to focus on a group of people to analyze, since they are so old, and how they get by their life. That'd be more interesting, instead of providing a very huge context. So try to narrow down the focus. What are the desires of foreigners to learn Chinese? Yes, you can do that, but basically it's the motivations and the effectiveness and the perceived use of this. So what would be the possible way for you to do the data collection? For this one, anyone can answer for this? If this is something you want to do, so what would be the possible way of data collection? Interview a small group of foreigners, right? But if you want to identify a large group of foreigners, maybe you want to do a survey. Maybe feasible, is that right? Okay? But you have to be careful about the word desires. Normally, when in academic writing, we don't put desires over there. We would like to use motivations. That would be more academic. Desires is more lust, right? It's something we try to. And this one is too huge. Effects of global warming, that's too huge. What kind of effects are you talking about? And when we talk about this is something, this is A, let's see, A, right? So basically you just say A's effects. That does not say anything. That does not say anything. Because when we say effects, must be on something, right? That is effects. So what kind of effects you are talking about, and to whom? You have to point out. For example, effects of global warming on the small business in Africa, or a small town in somewhere Africa. Well, that's good, okay? Global. Oh, effects of global warming on the offshore island near Iceland. If you have the access for data, of course, right? So you have to point out some study population for you to create impact. But again, as I say, when you try to identify effects, you have to be careful about your research design, right? And what kind of research design can help us to understand the causal effect relationship in social science? There are only 3 kinds, right? Only 3. Or cohort design, or time series design. When you think about the 3 kinds of design, then you have to think data. Do you have the data available for you to analyze this kind of impact? If you have, go ahead. If you do not have, try to revise your questions. Okay? Be careful for this. And if, for instance, a Korea wave on the Philippines, well, yeah, I know it's you, right? It's yours. Influence Korean wave on the Philippines. It seems that you have to go to collect data from the Philippines. Can you do that? How are you going to do that? Well, basically, if you say the Philippines, it refers to a huge population. So when I say this, I think that should be survey, right? Through questionnaires. That would be doable. If you are surveying a group of the Philippines, here, there, everywhere, then that is good. Or if you want to say the influence of Korean wave on the Philippines in Taiwan, well, you can focus on Taiwan because the study population is more manageable in this case. Is that right? Okay. Let's see the other ones. The use of social media, the survey of Generation Z. Yeah, who is Generation Z? You? Then who is Generation Z? I mean, not you, I mean, who are the people belong to Generation Z? Who? You? Okay, who wrote this? Who have this? Come on, raise your hand. Who is the Generation Z? 16 to 22 years. So you are Z generation Z. So, okay, you can do this. You can survey, okay? So, using social media. The different uses of social media. A survey study of Generation Z. Change that title. Just give you a research topic. Okay, say again. Different uses of social media. A survey study of Generation Z. That's it. Okay, we are running out of time, and I will just quickly go to the last page. Next week, you have to finish up research portfolio 6. And after our midterm examination, we are going to highlight lesson 8. And this is our midterm examination. We have 20 multiple choice questions, 40 points, and 4 short answer questions, 40 points, and 1 essay question and 1 bonus question for you. So altogether, we have 110 points possible for you to get. Okay? And after midterm examination, we have a 1 week of the so-called mobile lecture. So we will have no class. We have no class after the midterm. So you are free to go everywhere you like to go, anywhere other than this class, because we will have no class after the midterm examination. Okay? So don't come here. If you insist, go to my office, take the key, and sit here by yourself. Okay, you can do that. Okay, so prepare your midterm examination. Everything we have highlighted so far will become the context for our midterm examination. Okay? And if you have any question, try to clarify your research topic. You can grab the time to come to my office and talk to me. I will be very happy to offer you assistance. but you need to have something to talk to me. Okay? See you next week, and we are going to have a midterm examination. Okay, see you. Bye bye.
还要改还是？
那我刚才不是跟你讲过？
哦，按这个问题可以。
啊？
问题找问题，找改。
是这样的，
哦。
你知道 the use of social media，
哦。
那你啊，其实你要去，我在文献探讨的地方要探讨两件事情，也就是说，我们所谓的 social media 有哪几种不同的用法？对不对？一定有好几种嘛，有1、2、3、4种用法，对不对 ？OK， 那你也必须要去确认说谁是 Generation Z 啊，16到22，那怎么来的，对不对 ？OK， 那其实你的问的是说，那how do this group of people using one？
哦。
How do they use number 2、3、4？对不对？你会讲 different uses of social media 嘛？那使用 social media 一定有不同的主要用法嘛？1、2、3、4、5嘛，对不对？那你的次问题，你的 research query 不是这个？
哦。
而且这是你的，这个是你的文献探讨可能要谈到的东西。
哦。
但你的 research query 第一题是不是讲说这些 Z how they use one, how use two 等等之类的。
哦，所以那个
这5题嘛，对啊，这就变成你那个主要的核心的问题，
哦，
对吧？
哦，好，谢谢。
要
我想问一下，就是我的 research question，我想要写那个 racial discrimination，在美国